Today, we're diving into the story of a leader who built one of Africa's greatest empires. But he didn't just do it with armies. He did it with law, with faith, and, crucially, with knowledge. This is the incredible legacy of Songhai's Askia Muhammad. So here's the big question. How do you unite a massive, sprawling empire, especially the largest in African history? For Askia Muhammad, the new leader of the Songhai Empire, he knew it wasn't just about swords and shields. The real answer, for him, was a powerful combination of faith and knowledge. And that strategy, it would kickstart a golden age for West Africa. All right, so let's set the scene. Our story really begins as a giant starts to stumble. The once mighty Mali Empire was weakening, and that created a huge power vacuum in West Africa. This was the perfect opening for a new force to rise up and take its place, the Songhai. You know, for centuries, the Mali Empire was the power in West Africa. It was famous for its incredible wealth and influence. But as you get into the 1400s, the cracks were starting to show. Its power began to crumble, leaving all these vast territories and super important trade cities totally up for grabs. This timeline really shows you that dramatic power shift. You see the Mali Empire's influence just fading away through the 1400s. And right as that's happening, the Songhai Empire starts its climb, hitting a major turning point in 1493. That's when Askia Muhammad comes to power. And believe me, he is the leader who's going to define its golden age. So who exactly was this Askia Muhammad? He wasn't just some conqueror grabbing an opportunity. No, this guy was a visionary. He had a really clear, powerful plan to build an empire that would actually last, one that was truly unified. At his very core, Askia Muhammad was a deeply devout Muslim, and he saw Islam as more than just his personal faith. For him, it was a blueprint for how to run a government. It was the common ground he could use to build a stable, prosperous empire out of dozens of different cultures and tribes. So just like the legendary Emperor Mansa Musa from the Mali Empire, Askia Muhammad makes the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. Now, this was way more than just a personal religious journey. This was a brilliant strategic move that would solidify his power and plug his empire right into the wider Islamic world. His pilgrimage had a whole checklist of goals. Of course, it demonstrated his piety, which gave him a ton of credibility back home. But it also let him build alliances with other powerful Muslim leaders. And this is key. It let him study their systems of law and governance, knowledge he was absolutely going to bring back to transform Songhai. So Askia Muhammad returns to Songhai armed with all these new ideas and a new level of international legitimacy. He was ready to transform his empire from just a collection of territories he'd conquered into a real, cohesive state built on shared principles. And he was super methodical about it. First thing he did, he set up a professional judiciary. I mean, think about that. For the first time, justice wasn't just based on the whim of some local leader. Instead, it followed a consistent, written legal code that applied to everyone. That's how you create order and fairness. This quote really gets to the heart of it. This was a radical change. Instead of countless unwritten tribal laws that could be different from one village to the next, the entire empire was now governed by a single written legal code. This built a foundation of unity and predictability. That's how you build a nation. But law and order was just one piece of the puzzle. Askia Muhammad knew that a truly great empire needed a great mind, so he turned Songhai into a magnet for intellectuals, pouring money into schools and making it crystal clear that scholars were welcome and highly valued here. And the result? Oh, it was incredible. Timbuktu just blossomed into this world-renowned center of learning. And we're not just talking about religious studies. No, this was a full-on pursuit of knowledge, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, that rivaled universities anywhere in the world at the time. So what was the lasting impact of this double-barreled focus on law and learning? Well, the legacy wasn't just stability or wealth. It was something tangible, something that would survive for centuries. And the proof of his success is right here. Askia Muhammad ruled for over 30 years. That kind of longevity doesn't happen by accident. That's stability. That's prosperity. It shows that his reforms really worked, creating a state that was powerful, just, and incredibly well organized. This, right here, the Sankore Mosque in Timbuktu, is the perfect symbol of his entire era. It wasn't just a place to pray. It was a university. It was the intellectual heart of the empire. This is where faith and knowledge lived side by side, and everyone understood that both were sources of power. In Timbuktu, books really were as valuable as gold. And this intellectual boom left behind a very real legacy, the Timbuktu manuscripts. We're talking about thousands of handwritten books on pretty much every subject you can imagine. They survive to this day, and they are a priceless window into the rich intellectual life of this great West African empire. So, when you think about it, Askia Muhammad's strategy from over 500 years ago, uniting people with shared laws and a common pursuit of knowledge, it feels incredibly modern, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, where do we see those exact same principles at work in our own world today? And what can we still learn from his success?